All right, what's on your minds, guys? You've talked to all the coordinators. Don't you have all the answers by now? I thought there's not much I could add, is there? No, they just give the guy a title.
We'll start with Pete Sampson.
Brian, over here. Without giving away what you were doing offensively today, the creativity, is that more like what you hope this offense can be, and can sort of Tommy flex a little bit more in terms of the identity and trying some different things with different groups?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we've talked about this in terms of my philosophy has always been about the ability to push the ball down the field, and I think we've got some guys that can do that. And you know, we really didn't know what we had last year. We wanted to be very careful, you know, going into the season that we were, you know, coming out of COVID. You know, we went. I think it was last Wednesday in our practice. A year earlier, we had to take the week off and close down practices. So there was I don't want to use conservative, but we were playing it, you know, a lot closer to the vest relative to leaning on an offensive line, and knowing that was the strength. This offense has got to produce, more points, and so you saw that we're going to be, you know, more multiple in our offensive sets, and we've got to get the ball down the field to playmakers.
From an individual standpoint, Riley Mills on the defensive line, could you speak to his versatility and just the different things he may allow you to do on that side?
Yeah, so, you know, obviously playing 3 down and 4 down, he gives us the ability to play the 3, the 5, the 4, you know, and he's long, and he's, you know, some people, use terms like, he can bend, he's not stiff, terms like that. He's a long player, and his physicality lends itself to being able to play a few different positions for us. So I think you're going to see a guy like Riley Mills really flourish in this system that Marcus runs.
Tim Priester is next.
Brian, it appeared that Jack Cohn was, although the defense appeared to get the best of you in 11-on-11, Cohn looked really accurate today. Has he been that accurate?
That's his, Tim, that's what he does. I mean, I think we were all, took, in some instances, Ian Book's performance here for granted because he was a very accurate passer. But, Jack Cohn kind of picks up for where Ian left off in terms of accuracy. Like, we've gone through practices now, and we feel really comfortable with that part of his game. The accuracy is really good. He's smart. He knows the offense very well for just coming in the spring. And he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You see that. You know, he's not a guy that's throwing the ball into coverage, making poor decisions. He's got a high football IQ. So, he's a guy that, we have come to feel really confident with his ability to move the offense.
When you have a point of emphasis with him or a bone to pick with him, what does it usually center around?
He's come out of a system that's a little bit more drop back play action, so it's a little bit more of the shotgun, quick mechanics, ball coming out of his hand, a little bit quicker footwork, some of the small nuances of the position, not the big picture stuff, which is great, right? He's got all those things down that has put him in a position to be the starter in a very short period of time. So these are just reminders of some of the things that he needs to do that he hasn't done a lot of in his career.
It was about a year ago at this time when you said if it wasn't for Michael Mayer, we'd be talking about Kevin Ballman a lot. He had a really good day. What have you seen from him?
So Kevin, and I want to be careful how and please bear with me, so just don't run to the quote here. He was a bull in a china shop and breaking glass all over the place when he started off, and he is refining himself in this position. And the tight end works in a phone booth, right? I mean, he's got to be able to slip and get open, and he's really refining himself and getting on the edge of linebackers and safeties and putting himself in positions where now he can use his ability. He's got really good ability, but he was tying himself up a lot. Like he was a bull in a china shop. He was running into safeties. He was running into linebackers, and he couldn't free himself up. And so this is just a guy that is developing along the way, and we're starting to see that refining, if you will, from the position.
And if Michael Vincent doesn't just flat out win the punt return job, who do you anticipate?
Listen, I thought about a lottery for you folks, catching punts, but I'm harking back to the time when Lou Holt said, "Don't do this," because he did and broke a finger. I would think you guys might break your neck if you try to catch a punt. So Michael Vincent was an easy one because you feel so bad for him when he dropped it. He was going to get a second chance.
John Finneran, you're next.
Brian, I wonder if you could talk about the progress your offensive line is making. They're starting to gel the way you want them to make, and also on your playmakers at wide receiver. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from them in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen enough practices to kind of get a sense of, that thing is kind of shaping up to where it was today, right? Lug strained his neck. He got his neck snapped back in 11-on-11, so we kept him out. But you guys have kind of seen the rotation. Blake Griffith, Blake is out there at left, and Zeke's been in at left guard, and Patterson and Madden and Lug. Carmody's been rotating in there. Yeah, so, I mean, we're kind of settling into that rotation. I think Andrew Christophic has done some nice things. Tosh Baker's done some nice things. Dirkson's done some nice things. But I think you guys can kind of see how that's shaping up. And so we'll continue to refine that and continue to work, with the group that you've seen out there. The wide receiver group, they show sign. I think we're really confident in their ability. I think where we're going to go into this next week is consistency of performance. Like, Lindsey shows really big at times, right? We saw the double move. We saw the speed on the perimeter. We see Kevin Austin flash at times. Avery Davis is a guy that gives us some consistency. We need to see that practice in and practice out. But we feel like that group is going to be a strong suit for us.
Tyler James is next.
Brian, you mentioned Michael Carmody rotating in. We've seen him both at left tackle and right tackle. What has he done to be able to kind of assert himself as maybe that third tackle you guys have?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, he's extremely athletic, bends well, moves his feet well. So, it starts with, he's blessed with really good athletic ability, and he's strong. His work in the weight room shows itself in the numbers that we get from Coach Bayless and in terms of how he handles himself. So the physicality piece, I think, probably stands out the most. Blessed with length. He's a guy that could probably be Robert Hainsey in a sense. He could probably play every position on the offensive line. So he's our kind of, again, I'm throwing analogies out here all the time and examples. He's a Swiss Army knife, right? I mean, he can play, all those positions for us. And I think it starts with he's smart and he's athletic.
Avery Davis was named a captain, and he's a good story. You have a lot of good stories as the captains.
Yeah.
What does he bring to that wide receiver group, sort of in terms of leadership, and then how important is he in terms of just a weapon in the offense as well?
Yeah, well, he brings, incredible grit, and, he's, I had the players vote, and their message to me was we respect him, by the amount of votes that he's gotten from his teammates. Remember, we all know that he's bounced around at a number of different positions, so I think our teammates respect the fact, the way he's handled himself, the way he works, his work ethic. He's quiet in a sense that you don't hear him as a rah-rah guy, but he's the first guy that puts an arm around a young guy. So it's been a great mentor. I think he's one that probably is the guy that we look towards as that consistent performer, and we want that standard to be across the board for all the receivers.
And then lastly, for me, Justin Walters seems to make plays
Yeah.
every once in a while that we get our eyes on. How much is that an indication of where he's going, or does he still have a ways to go to maybe get into that?
He's got a ways to
depth
go
rotation?
physically, I mean, but he's a good football player. And he does, he's got a nose. Some guys just have a nose for the football, Tyler. They just get around the ball. And it's one thing to be around the ball and don't make plays. He's around the ball and he makes plays. Good football player. It's going to be really good here.
Patrick Engel is next.
We talk about those like senior 5 receivers as key guys, but what have you seen from Lorenzo Styles as far as just 1, freshman progress, and 2, potential to try to make a case to shoehorn in there?
Styles is coming. He's coming. It's been, slower probably for him than he would like. He slowed a little bit with injury. And he's such a detailed guy that they sometimes get in the way of him playing free. So we got to free him up a little bit. He's probably his own worst enemy at times, that he wants to be perfect. So we try to get perfect out of the way in the first couple of periods, and then start working towards just being good. He's just a great kid. I think he's starting to find a comfort zone now. We've got him out at the X receiver position. He's starting to play faster. He's going to be really good. And sometimes it just takes getting out of your own way a little bit, and in a positive way, right? He's just so conscious of every little detail. But progress is really coming.
And then when you look at your defensive line rotation of whether it's 9 guys and even some guys beyond that, how many of those do you guys look at as having worked at multiple spots, or being able to move into those spots, especially when you go multiple fronts here?
Well, I'm not going to get into the details of it because you guys got to see a lot there today, and we hope that, obviously we don't have a scouting report out there. But I think it speaks for itself, right? We're going to move guys around, and they're going to be difficult to block.
And then last one for me, how have you noticed Zeke now 3 weeks into fall camp progressing and growing comfortable at guard?
Yeah, I mean, I think, he brings a lot to the table, right? In terms of he's strong and he's athletic at the position, right? So, we've got 2 guys that really move well, and Madden and Zeke. We missed a backer firing through the B gap in 11-on-11. Look, if we're going to be athletic and not quite as big, we better be able to pick up backers running through A gaps. So, he's doing some really good things. Our awareness has got to be better. And so I think he's made good progress. There's still progress to be made.
Eric Hansen is
All right,
next.
Samuel. Yeah, just show up whenever you want. Big shot. Yeah, you didn't think you were going to get shit for that?
Brian, because of the lineage at left tackle here, I almost hate to ask this question, but where maybe now that you're a couple weeks or so away from a game, maybe does Blake compare at the same time to like those guys?
He's better than anybody that we have. That's why he's there.
Yeah.
This exercise is futile, right? I mean, trying
Okay.
to compare him to anybody.
What do you think his challenges are at this stage?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this a little bit. It's the length of a play.
Okay.
And you saw it today, right? It's just finishing off plays. He is from a pass rush standpoint, he's hard to get around. He's long, he moves his feet well, he's strong, you can't bull rush him, he can get his hands on you. It's his development is still there. It needs to continue to grow. But look, I mean, you guys were out there. It's hard to compare him to anybody that we've had here. Was Ronnie Stanley a better athlete? Maybe, but he certainly didn't have the size. His makeup is elite. And when I say makeup, his ability to go out there, his body recovers. Most of these guys don't recover. I mean, they don't have the ability to bounce back the next day and recover with the workload they get. He can recover. Like, you know, he got a gift, and he's a gifted young man.
Kind of on the other side of the equation, Isaiah Foskey last year flashed a lot as a more of an every down kind of guy. What kind of fall camp are you getting out of him? Where does he
Consistent.
Okay.
He's consistent. He shows up every day. He runs to the football. He's assignment correct. He's very detailed in his work. You know, I don't know if you guys have talked to him much, but he takes a lot of pride in his work and how he does things. He's clean in everything that he does. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, you'd be really surprised sometimes, you know, when people grade out. I mean, he is assignment correct. He does a nice job.
And last one from me, you know, with 2.5 weeks or whatever to your first game, what do you feel like most important to kind of button up here?
I mean, I think, you know, when you get to this point where you've just finished installing, you kind of want to now go into this week and see where your strengths and weaknesses are, so you can start to address those. We were just, you know, on this treadmill of install, right, and get the installation in, and situational work, and preparing for 2-minute and goal line, and you know what I mean. So it's been, you know, whole, you know, putting it all together, right? So that question could be better answered maybe middle to late next week, you know. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So does that make sense? Like we're putting this thing together, and so it's kind of hard to really assess it at this point.
Anthony Totri is next.
Coach, Myron's gone through such a tough situation over the last couple of weeks. We heard from him earlier in the week that he actually caught a red eye to make it to practice. What does that just kind of say about how he is as a player and like as a teammate?
Well, he's beloved. I mean, players love him, and he loves being around his teammates. And so, you know, it's very difficult time for him, but I think he gained a lot of solace to be around us as well, right? You know, I think he wanted to come back and be with his teammates, and I think that was his way of healing in a way too, right? So this worked well for him, getting back and getting back with his teammates.
Of course. And Tommy said yesterday that he thinks
Whatever Tommy said, go with it.
Michael Mayer has the potential to be the best tight end to ever go through Notre Dame. Do you see that potential, and how does he actually achieve that?
You know, like I said, I mean, there's been so many great tight ends here. Michael Mayer is an exceptional football player. He's going to be an NFL player, and he's going to have great success. How you measure those, you know, I think it's just, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder when you get to greatness, right? You know, I mean, there's so many great tight ends here. You know, Kyle Rudolph was pretty good. Cole Kmet, pretty good. Tyler Eifert, pretty good. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Just for me, since I've been here, and that's just a snapshot. He's an amazing player, great player, but I'm not here to kind of rate him. I'll let you guys do that. You guys are pretty good at that.
Pete Byrne, you're up next.
Brian in the back. So you guys are breaking camp, basically. Did you get what you wanted to out of this camp time, and what are the things you probably feel good about as you guys start to transition into Florida State?
I like the team. I like the way they come to work. They understand our process. Look, if your process has been established and the standard of way you do things every day has been met and exceeded, you feel really good because you know it works. Right now, we're going to have to go make plays, and there'll be some tight situations, and things will have to happen. But I think you know going in that when they meet and exceed the standards that have been set in this program, you feel pretty good about your football team. Now the quarterback's got to do this, and the defense has got to do that, and, you know, and that's just playing the game. You got to go play the games too. But overall, this group has done all the things necessary to prepare for having a great season.
John Bryce is next.
Brian, just real quickly on Kyle, it looked like his day ended early. Was that just kind of precautionary, Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah, he was tight, lower back tightness. So, you know, we held him out for precautionary reasons.
And then Botello, how have you seen him progress, particularly the last couple of weeks?
He's been really active. You know, we think he's going to be a guy that, you know, shows up for us. Like the way, you know, we like Jordan. I mean, he's a good story. You know, he's really done a nice job in the classroom. Yeah, I think he's going to be really active for us and make plays for us.
And then my last one, following up on the questions about Myron, his return so quickly to the team, and he talked about how those guys, it wasn't an easy time, but they made it easy for him. What kind of example does he set when he makes that quick return? And I guess you've already talked about the depth of your leadership, but what does that say about the leadership and culture in your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you have veterans that, you know, are anxious to get back and want to be back and with the guys that, you know, you got a healthy organization and they, you know, they embrace, you know, what we do on a day-to-day basis, and he's part of what we do. And, you know, he was elected captain, you know, so as you can tell, the players really respect him. And, again, I think a lot of it has to do with who he is and how he's grown. Look, you know, we've heard this many times, you know, many of the young men that have come from the islands, you know, they come here and it's not just from the islands, but it's from all over the country, is that, you know, Notre Dame changes them and for the good. And Myron would be the first to tell you that. And so they feel good coming back. And he wanted to be back here, and he's with his teammates.
Chuck Fearby, you're next.
Brian, right here. 2 questions. Houston Griffith seemed to have a good day today. Certainly had a solid hit in 11-on-11. How would you evaluate his progress
He's
right
had
now?
a really good camp. Yeah, he's had a really good spring, summer. He's been a great leader. He's had a really good camp. You know, we've been looking for, you know, that guy that's going to be a tackler. You know, you got Hamilton, right? And then get the ball on the ground, you know, because Hamilton's going to be doing a lot. But get the ball on the ground at that other safety position. And so, you know, DJ and him have been battling it out, you know, and it's been great competition with both those guys. But he's had a really good camp. He's going to play a lot of football for us. It'll be fun to watch him play.
And secondly, you mentioned that you're still piecemealing install and putting in different things at different times. So how much stock do you put into the defense's performance today? What did you see from them that pleased you?
Oh, I put a lot into it. And it's not schematically. It's freedom of movement, energy and enthusiasm. And so when you see a defense that has a lot of moving pieces, but there's not a lot of thinking out there, and they're getting their cleats in the ground and they're playing fast, that generally leads to good success, in my experience. So either I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and that's probably a good bet most of the time, or they're going to play really fast and play exciting defense.
Your final question will come from Zoom. George Bashura, go ahead. George, I believe you're on mute.
The old mute.
And does not look like it's working out, so we are all set. Thank you very much, Coach.
Awesome.